If I had a nickel for every time I did a Lost Media discussion video regarding soup to nuts, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it should buy me a more clever spin on this overused Phineas and Ferb quote than anything I could come up with. Okay, in all seriousness, before I officially get things rolling, I just want to quickly mention my gratitude for how positive the reception to my 2022 video about the Peep and the Big Wide World pilot turned out. Even Steven Rogan, the anime responsible for the test footage I talked about, found my video and enjoyed it. He also pointed out that he was both the lead animator and storyboard artist for today's subject, O'Grady, and that he'll share some production material from the show in the future. I can't wait. Well, until then, thank you Mr. Rogan and everybody else for showing your support for this video, and let's get into our main topic of discussion. For those who are unaware, which I can safely assume is a majority of you watching, O'Grady was an animated teen comedy running from 2004 to 2006 on The N, which was the teen-oriented block on the preschool channel Noggin before it got spun off into its own channel that took the place of Nick Gas, and then got spun off into Teen Nick. I'll let this guy fill you in on those complicated details. Produced by the now defunct animation studio Soup to Nuts, O'Grady centers around 4 high school students, Abby, Beth, Kevin, and Harold, as they and their town deal with a different form of the appropriately named supernatural phenomenon, the weirdness. I'm personally nostalgic for O'Grady, having seen it as a kid during weekends on Family Channel, and nowadays appreciate how unique it is in the world of teen/adult-oriented animated sitcom. I talked about it already in my old video on favorite underrated cartoons, but I feel it's a damn shame that a show with as much creative liberties as this one was so short-lived and ended up fading into obscurity. It's deserving of a cult status that's on equal levels as whole movies, if not higher. Like, people should be quoting that crazy German exchange student Iris as much as they do quote McGurk. Oh, did I mention H. John Benjamin voices both characters? No, really, he's really more versatile with his voice acting than you may think.
Hi, I'm Bob from Bob's Burgers. Hi, I'm Archer from that show Archer.
But once I taste human flesh, damn, tastes like fish.
Regardless of said obscurity, O'Grady itself is not lost media. If you want to check it out, which I highly recommend you do, there are 9 out of its 19 episodes you can purchase digitally on Amazon Prime Video, at least in the US. Otherwise, you may need to resort to alternative methods to watch the whole series. No, the thing about this already forgotten cartoon that falls under the category of lost media is pertaining to the fact that, as I mentioned in my Peep video, the show was apparently conceived as a series of internet shorts at first. Now, how did I find this out? Well, it was sometime in 2021, one evening, for whatever reason, I was on a mini quest to verify for myself if all 13 episodes of whole movie's first season were a part of its initial order from UPN, or if the last 8 episodes were an Adult Swim decision instead. It appears to be the former, according to this Christmas 1998 article on Animation World Network. Then from there, being the unapologetic nerd that I am, I continued my visit to AWN, looking up articles for some of my favorite underrated cartoons to see if I can find some good, forgotten trivia about them. O'Grady happened to be one of those shows, and that's how I landed on an article dated May 17, 2000, announcing Soup to Nuts founder Tom Snyder's plans on developing free internet cartoons for Shockwave.com. Ah yes, Shockwave was my jam back in the day. I'm talking Tamale Loco, Donut Boy Free, DJ Fu Wax Attack, Red Wine Rumble, Drift and Burn, Snowy the Bear's Adventures, Fat Ass Little Raids the Cookie Factory. Man, I ought to do a nostalgia fest around here sometime or another. Anyway, back on topic, as you might have figured out, O'Grady, or rather O'Grady High, was one of these free web cartoons, with 8 episodes that are 2 minutes long and intended to be released during the summer of 2000. Its logline states that, quote, O'Grady follows alien invaders who have minimal effects on teens, end quote. This summary does sound like it had at least a few of the essential supernatural characteristics of the O'Grady TV series we'd eventually get, although if I remember correctly, each occurrence of the weirdness is supposed to have an equal amount of drastic effects on both the teens and adults, right? But as cool as this bit of trivia was when I first found it, I never really attempted to dig a little deeper until April of 2022, after a binge watch of El Supersonic Q's Lost Media videos inspired me to go on a mild Lost Media hunt of my own. When googling O'Grady Shockwave, I was able to strike one other nugget of gold. It was a 2007 interview on Gothamist.com with Holly Schlesinger, one of the co-creators of O'Grady, as well as the voice of Beth Briggs. Spread across 3 paragraphs, she went into a solid amount of detail on how the show was developed. First, Holly talked about O'Grady's started life as a web cartoon.
In 2000, when the company was called Tom Snyder Productions and run by Tom Snyder, an executive producer on Dr. Katz, not Tom Snyder the interviewer, Tom was interested in internet programming. Back then, there was a lot of anticipation about web shows, but only a handful of internet sites actually broadcasted original content. One of them was Shockwave.com. Tom had just seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and I really wanted to do a show about high school kids. I had the characters in mind. Tom thought, what if all the teachers at the school turned into pods?
Miss Schlesinger's quote just now is the best component we have to visualize what these early O'Grady sorts would have looked like, at least plot-wise. We don't know for sure how different the character designs and character personalities will have been compared to the finalized series, but at least we can visit the story being an invasion of the Body Snatchers send-up, where the teens have to save the day, somehow, as their elders get turned into pods. Although I have a theory regarding the character design that I'll bring up later. In the next quote from this interview, Holly reveals the unfortunate fate of the original webisodes.
We further developed the concept, named the show O'Grady High, and sold it to Shockwave. I wrote 8 2-minute episodes of the show, but unfortunately the webisodes never aired because for whatever reason, Shockwave shifted direction. Shortly after, I left Soup to Nuts and moved to New York. I figured O'Grady would be something for my reel, nothing more. About a year after I moved here, Soup to Nuts called to say they had sold O'Grady High to the N, Noggin's primetime teen programming block.
So the key things to take away from that last quote are, the webisodes never made it to Shockwave after all due to some sort of shift in direction for the website, and the only alleged whereabouts of these 2-minute O'Grady sorts are their inclusion in Holly Schlesinger's demo reel, which I highly doubt she will make public on the internet anytime soon. She's currently a superstar, being a writer and producer on Bob's Burgers, working alongside the also underrated Katie Crown. So while I'm sure she remembers O'Grady fondly, from conception to final product, an obscure cartoon like this isn't a high priority on her mind at the moment. And of course, Soup to Nuts is no longer existent since 2015, so contacting the studio directly to find out more about the O'Grady webisodes is like walking into a dead end and standing still on that spot as you wish a door will magically appear, when realistically, it ain't happening. Well, I wish we contact a former employee from Soup to Nuts, that is, like, oh, I don't know, Amy B. McDonald. Yes, this is an O'Grady model C coming from the portfolio of a former 2D animator at Soup to Nuts named Amy B. McDonald. You may remember her portfolio appearing in an El Supersonic Q video when he talked about a possible pilot to Word Girl that may or may not exist. The O'Grady character lineup features Abby, Beth, Kevin, and Dr. Myers. But do you notice a certain other major character is missing? At the beginning of this video, I mentioned that the show's main cast includes 4 teens, Abby, Beth, Kevin, and Harold. So where's my main man at? Well, this brings us to not only the second paragraph from Holly Schlesinger's interview that's relevant to this whole mystery, but also a little theory I alluded to earlier. Back to the Gothamist interview, Holly shared what happened to the O'Grady concept after the sorts for Shockwave got cancelled.
For a 2-minute webisode, you only need a bare-bones storyline and a handful of jokes, and then you're done. But a 22-minute show needs a lot more detail to hold a viewer's attention. The N thought the concept of teachers turning into pods wasn't strong enough to base the TV series on, and might get old fast. We redeveloped the show so that a different bizarre and unexplainable phenomenon, like the teachers turning into pods, occurred every episode. The people of O'Grady referred to this bizarre and unexplainable phenomenon as the weirdness, which ranged from talking backwards to temporary rapid aging to animals being able to speak. Noggin also wanted to give the characters more backstory and added the character Harold, played by Patrice O'Neill.
So after reading that previous paragraph, not only do we learn why the whole body snatcher stick was put aside in order for O'Grady to better function as a half-hour series, but we also learned that Harold is a member of the same club as Chucky Finster, Gus Griswold, and Austin, being a major character who never existed in the original concept but was added upon greenlight in the series to spice up the cast. Going back to the model scene on Amy B. McDonald's portfolio, ignoring the Noggin subtitle on it, I theorized that this character lineup was designed back when those original webisodes were being produced, mainly because of Harold's absence. And who knows if the other recurring characters, namely Mr. Whipshits, Philip, Pete, and my girl Iris, date back to the Shockwave shorts, or if they were also created once the show was picked up by Noggin. Another thing worth noting is Kevin's design, shown here as well as in the first episode of the actual series, Sweats. He's rendered with much less hair than his finalized design, and I have a hunch that he might have looked this way in the unseen webisodes as well. Meanwhile, everyone else looks as they did for the entirety of the TV show. Again, this is just a theory. A Lost Media theory! And we'll miss you, MatPat. Now, we're going to be wrapping up this video in a moment. I just want to report the existence of 8 unreleased 2-minute precursors to the forgotten gem known as O'Grady, and now I pass it on to those who are more dedicated in the Lost Media community than I am to conduct a more hardcore search for these lost web sorts, if they choose to do so. Whereas the Peep in the Big Wide World test footage I talked about previously only amounts to the one clip Stephen Rogan included in his demo reel, there are approximately 60 minutes of early O'Grady content never shown to the public, and the only real pieces of evidence to back up their existence are the AWN article and Holly Schlesinger's interview in The Gothamist, in which she alleged that she has copies of those webisodes. And she might not even be the only ex-Soup to Nuts employee to have copies, so it's up to you and the Lost Media community to do whatever you can and hope that these unaired O'Grady web sorts will resurface someday. The last few years have seen some successful Lost Media searches, from the Wicked Witch episode of Sesame Street, to the Blue's Clues pilot, to that one background track from SpongeBob's House Party, whose catchiness I never noticed until it was found in high quality, so never say never when it comes to these 8 O'Grady web sorts. Also, while you're at it, go check out O'Grady anyway. Like I mentioned earlier, it's just as worthy of cult status as some of its fellow Soup to Nuts productions for being a very creative and clever take on your typical teen-oriented series. And a shout out goes to my mutual Jason cartoon fan who's recently developed love for O'Grady, partially motivated me to finally finish up the script after being stuck in draft mode for over a year. And a special thanks goes to Jason's friend Techie for her readings of Holly Schlesinger's quotes. She's the biggest O'Grady fan I ever became acquainted with, so I couldn't resist having her on board to cooperate for this video. Okay, that's all for now with the mystery behind the O'Grady web sorts. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing them pop up one day, as well as your thoughts on O'Grady in general if you ever watched it, that is. Also, please keep me updated if you have any more intriguing details on these unaired webisodes. Lastly, please remember to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more animation nerdiness like this, hit the bell so you won't miss them, share this video with the Lost Media community, and leave a star emoji in the comments to confirm that you watched this video until the very end. Thanks for watching, take care, and happy early 20th anniversary O'Grady, as well as a happy belated 25th anniversary to Noggin.